guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tanasia Lachey, and in this series, I'll be documenting my content creator journey and sharing the hacks, habits, and routines that have been helping me streamline my goals. From productivity tips to digital organization and wellness routines, my goal is to provide practical advice that can help you on your own journey. In the last video, I kicked off the Notion workflow segment of this series with a deep dive into my yearly planner setup. Today we're continuing part 2, where I'll be sharing my finance and budget tracker workflow. This is one of my favorite and frequently used templates in my Notion workflow, so let me show you why I love it. I absolutely love this template because it keeps me organized and on top of my finances. It's not just about tracking your expenses, it's about having a comprehensive overview of your financial health. With that said, I do want to mention that this template does not yet have the capability to automatically import your bank transactions. I mainly use it to track my recurring expenses and stay on top of which bills are due. So Notion, if you're watching this, please consider partnering with Plaid. I just know that would take this template to the next level. It would just be chef's kiss. One of the key features that I implemented in this template was the bill alert center. So if you're on the go and you quickly need to pull up what's due today or what's due tomorrow, you can easily look on your phone and click on the day and see, okay, I have nothing due today, what's due tomorrow, what was due last week. You can easily see on your bill alert center. Another feature that I love is the monthly income and expense tracking, which gives me a clear picture of how much money is coming in and where it will be allocated. I've also included a way for you to track your annual spending and 401k growth with monthly snapshots. So now I'm going to give you a walkthrough so you can get a better idea of the benefits of this template. Alright, so here's the finance and budget tracker demo. I went ahead and put in some dummy data with a generic annual salary of 100k because, as Jules would say, we are going to keep it very mindful, very cutesy, very demure, and we do not share our financial details online. So getting straight into the alert center, we have the monthly calendar view where you can see here what is due for the month. So if I wanted to see it in timeline view, I can also click that as well. And if you want to get more specific, you can opt to show the amount that is due as well, just so you can be in the know. But if you want to keep it more clean and cut, you can just turn that off and you can just see the expense name here. Going down to salary, you have your annual salary and your monthly income breakdown, so you can just get a quick glimpse. If you got a raise or if you just need to provide some income tax information, you can automatically just see your details here. Alright, so in the account summary section, this is where I just provide a quick glimpse of my accounts and the balances. Now this isn't going to automatically update. As I said before, I go ahead and put a snapshot of what my bank accounts are looking like so I can have a quick view of that. So this is the month's budget tracker, and for those of you that like to assign a budget for each category and just have it broken down in an overview, here's where you'll do that. This column you'll put in the monthly budget, so if you have taxes or education, you can just put in that information. And on these sections, these are formulas that I've created, and you don't have to update that part. It'll automatically adjust as you put in your expenses for the month, and it'll tell you how much you have remaining. If you have anything extra, you can allocate it to a different section if you want to, or you can just keep it as is and just leave everything at 100%. This is based on the current month. This does not track the previous month or the months coming up. If you want to have a snapshot of how your budget went for that month, I recommend screenshotting it and inputting it into your annual spending section, which I will go over in a few seconds. Just make sure you want to screenshot this at the end of the month to get a snapshot of your month's budget. Here you have the savings goals. So I just put in some generic goals that you might have, and you can change the amount here, and as well as if you had any updates or if you had any deductions from like your emergency fund, I can just deduct that and it'll automatically show the progress of how much I have saved. So it went down to 50%, and you can just update that as your savings grows. So next you have your annual spending, and this is what I was talking about earlier, when you can track your spending for the month and have a quick little overview of what's been coming in and what's been going out, whether or not you have been over budget, within budget, or budget balance. It's a quick and easy way to see how you've been performing with your money or how your financial health has been looking throughout the year. So I just have the first 3 months of the year and then also August, just because I wanted the budget tracker to reflect the current month. But in here you can click in So when I click into the month, I can easily view my income and expenses for that month. And I also have the income automatically populated each pay period. So you do that here where you set up a template and you can change the frequency of how it repeats. So I have it set up to repeat every 2 weeks on Thursday because I get paid a day early. And you have that there. And if you have any additional supplemental income, you can also put that there to automatically repeat based off of your pay structure for that supplemental income. So here I would just put, I work at Google, this is how much I made for the first check and second check. Pay date is on the 1st and 15th. This is my income type. You can also change it to reflect your supplemental income here. Then you have your payment account where I would typically just input the bank account number, just the last 4 digits, so you can know specifically which account the money is being deposited into. And you can also keep track of how many hours you worked, along with if you are overtime eligible, you can put in the hours of overtime that you worked as well, just to get a more accurate picture of how much income you made for that month. And you obviously have a sum total here. Now, when you go down to your expenses, this is where you're going to be very thorough when you first set up this template. I want you to go ahead and input your monthly reoccurring expenses here, and just think of these as headers. So underneath the header, you'll have a subheader, and that's where you'll input your reoccurring expenses. So for example, if I had my rent that needed to go up under my fixed expense, I'll hit duplicate here, and then it will duplicate right up under it. But if it's placed somewhere else, you can always move these around too. But I will put rent up under my fixed expense, and then I'll have a repeat for that every 15th of the month or 1st of the month, depending on how your money comes out or how your bills are due. You can set up the reoccurring template to populate, so you don't have to constantly input your expenses each month. So for example, under the new debt expense, if I wanted to just create expense that was a one-time thing, then I can obviously just hit new and select what template I want to use. They're all the same, they just have different things up under them. But generally you would just hit the new expense and select which expense it is to input a one-time expense. But if you have recurring expenses, like say you have an Amex card or a Chase credit card that you want to have reoccurring each month, you can do that. Like I said, duplicate the expense type, and then you change it to Amex card or whatever expense you have. You can set up the repeating. So I have it set up to repeat once a month on the 21st, but like I said, I typically do that on the 15th just so it can automatically generate it. So when I edit the template, I'm going to put in certain factors that will always be the same each month. So that might be the amount. It might not be the amount. I leave the month and year blank because obviously I need to update it for the current month, but I'll put that as a debt expense. I'll put the due date, which should stay the same. I put in the categories and subcategories, whether it's a shared expense or not. If this is going to be paid on the first check or the second check, you can designate that. You can set up your bank account amount, and then you can also put your credit line so you have that reference, as well as your APY. So I typically would fill out that stuff, and you can also have a section where it says, so this is the amount that you have due, but there's also a minimum payment. So that is what will change each month depending on your spending for that card. So that's what I would leave blank, but for a general overview, you can kind of see and gauge, all right, this month it went up a bit because typically I spend $200. I pay $200 a month, so I know that the minimum payment went up this month or it went down this month. You can just see that here, and it'll automatically populate based off of what day you designated it for to be repopulated. So that is how I typically put in my expenses for the month. I would keep the month and year column blank. The amount I would automatically pre-fill out, but I'll have, you can't see it here, but I'll have the minimum payment due. If it's a credit card or just whatever expense that you have, you can have the amount the same. And then as well as the due date, all you have to do is when it gets populated each 15th or 1st of the month, all you have to fill out is the month and year, input the amount, and the due date, depending on if it changes. But yeah, so that's how I typically do it. That is the expenses. This is something that I use every single time I'm doing or paying my bills. I click on the do this pay period, and so I have it designated where you have do this pay period, do next next pay period, and unassigned. So in the due this pay period, you have it for the due date. It's filtered on the range for that. So right now it's just a month, but if you have it for, say you get paid the 1st and 15th, I would put it for the 1st through the 15th, and it'll show, obviously it doesn't want to work for me today, but I would just change the due date here, and I can also filter it by second check or first check. So here's what I was saying about the minimum payment. If you have a credit card payment, you would input that here, and you would see your amount go on through here. And then in the unassigned tab, this is what's going to automatically populate based off of your reoccurring template schedule. So here you will show it will show a long list of all your expenses, your recurring expenses that don't have a month and year assigned to it. That is where you will go in and select which month to assign it to, and then you'll put in anything that has changed, so the minimum payment, and then also the due date. You'll update it for the date, because when you do your template, I typically set it for January 1st, so you know that if it's September and you have things that are unassigned and it shows January 1st, you know you need to change it to September 1st to update each expense. And that here you have your fixed expenses, where you can track and see how your expenses have been increasing or decreasing throughout the year. Same thing for variable expense, same thing for your debt expenses, so you can see how much has been going to debt each month, and if you've been trending in a positive direction or if you've been increasing, you can track that here as well. Now in the subscription section, this is really good for keeping track of how much you pay yearly and monthly. And this month you will show what is coming out of your account for your monthly expenses, and if there's any yearly expenses that might renew for the current month. You can see that here as well. So if you ever need to make any cutbacks and see, okay, all right, I need to cut back on some money somewhere, you can easily see what your monthly subscription charges are and what your yearly subscription charges are, and if you might need to cancel something, you will see that here. And then last, you will have your annual 401k growth. I go in once a month at the end of the month, and I input a snapshot of what my 401k balance was, so I can see how it's been growing throughout the year, and if there's any adjustments I need to make in my investments, I can update that on my 401k platform and make sure that it's trending in the right direction. So that's a quick overview of my finance and budget tracker in Notion. This template has made managing my finances so much easier, and I hope it can do the same for you. Of course, if you're interested in using this template, you can find it on my website, which is linked down below. Don't forget to check out part 1 if you missed it, and stay tuned for part 3, where I'll be sharing my content creation dashboard. And as always, I'd love to hear from you guys, so if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.